Welcome back, everybody, for another market review for F45trading.com. I hope you guys all had a great week of trading last week. Pretty interesting one in terms of volatility and price spikes, especially towards the end of the week with the US dollar ripping higher. This market review is going to be for the very last week of November 2019. If you can believe it, we're already almost here. The 25th of November to Friday the 29th of November. So, diving into the charts here in just a second, I want to bring up the Forex factory for the weekly economic news. Not so much of a very volatile week. A couple of things you definitely want to keep in mind. We've obviously got the Australian dollar news, Governor Lowe speaking, and consumer confidence. And then U.S. dollar consumer confidence starting off early Tuesday, Monday. Sorry, I kind of skipped over Monday. Not much happening Monday. Euro medium impact Euro event and the medium impact Aussie event, which shouldn't do too much. Going into Wednesday, which is going to be our highest volatility part of the week, right before, of course, the U.S. Thanksgiving holiday. On the Thursday, we have three medium impact news events right here for the U.S. dollar to start off early. New York Open, which leads us right into the Chicago PMI high impact news event, and then core PCE price index and personal spending. And then, of course, crude oil inventories wrapping up a fairly busy Wednesday morning for trading. And then Australian dollar wrapping up the day on Wednesday with the private capital expenditure, and then again, as I say, pretty quiet day on Thursday going in with the U.S. bank holiday, a couple medium impact news events for Euro and Canadian dollar, and then leading us into Friday, we have obviously CPI flashes estimate for Euro and Canadian dollar GDP numbers. So, all said and done, things are starting to wrap up here for the year for the most part. You're probably going to see, obviously, lighter impact news events. We're going to see probably a little tighter ranges. Don't get me wrong, we will, in the markets. Now, don't get me wrong, we could definitely have our days throughout the rest of this month and into December that you look at and you say, wow, the US dollar just did 100 pips, or the Euro USD just did 200 pips today. It certainly could happen. Typically what happens, though, is you see the months of December and even early into January as relatively quiet months. And rightly so, you should be taking some time with the family to relax, enjoy the holidays, study the market, study what happened previous year, the previous 2-3 years, see how 2019 stacked up in comparison to those, and obviously doing your forecasting and prognostication for 2020. If you can believe it, we are already 2020. Another decade is about to close. Pretty amazing. So anyway, here's your news events for this week. Like I said, keep it light this week. All 3 days of trading, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. This is the bulk of the week right here. Anything after Thursday, pretty much after Wednesday close, it's pretty much going to be probably a very humdrum sort of week to finish off Thursday and Friday. I say that now. Certainly, like I mentioned before, we could have a very volatile day, one of those days. You never know, but definitely wouldn't be high probability. And I would suggest you just, if you are going to trade this week, definitely keep in mind that these 3 days here are going to be your best days to do it in. So, jumping into the markets really quickly here, I'm going to just do an overview of US dollar, Euro USD, GBP USD, Euro GBP, touch briefly on US CAD and Australian dollar. And I don't see anything in crude oil, so I won't bother talking about that market. And gold, it's in a consolidation. I'll bring up gold quickly at the end, but that's pretty much about all I see on the horizon here moving forward. So, US dollar, and I mentioned this, I said last week, we could either, if we head below this line here, we're going to start sinking lower and possibly try to take out these lows here. If we fail to get below that, we're going to see a run back up into this area. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. We saw price fail to get below this line here. And price Monday dropped down. Tuesday had a very, very short range day. Wednesday opened up to the upside, and this should have been your confirmation. If you weren't sure that this was going to be the low, or Tuesday was going to be the low of the week, Wednesday shooting up into here definitely would have been your your indicator, I guess, so to speak, that price is going to move higher. And then we went right into Thursday shooting straight up, and then the big close on Friday, recapitalizing this area here. So now going forward, pretty simple. On the US dollar, either A, we fail to get above these highs here and price continues to run lower and we chop sideways if we fail to get underneath this low, or we stay basically in this price range. My apologies, folks, very unprofessional. My phone just went off. I thought I turned that to silent. Sorry, guys. That's option one. We could just, for the rest of the year, just stay right in here and chop sideways. I think that's more than likely to happen. Certainly they could roll over and run for these lows here, and certainly they could keep running above these highs here and hit these highs here. But that is option one, and I'm a little more biased towards that happening, just price sort of stagnating for the next sort of 60 days until we start getting into the new year. Option number two, if we see price spike above here, now there's going to be two options here, keep in mind. So option number 2A and option number 2B. Looking for a turtle soup. If price runs here, these highs here, and these are the highs I'm particularly talking about right there. So if we see price spike above these highs here and not close, and I'm on the daily chart, so look at this here. So you see this US dollar daily. On the daily, if we spike up and then fail to close above these highs here and reject, very, very bearish sign, we're going to lead to lower prices. How low do we go? Do we get under here? Do we get under here? We'll have to worry about that when the time comes. I don't know. Because again, we are starting to come into very light trading season, and anything is certainly possible. But that's what I'm looking for to the upside. So depending on how Sunday and Monday open up, what we could see is this. Sunday opening up, we come back down and rebalance off of this little consolidation level in here, and then shoot higher into here. I'll probably be looking for something in terms of that happening. But if we fail to get above these highs here, then what we're going to see is price will probably just fall off. Okay, so we'll just have to wait and see. It's always like that. You sort of set up your target levels on Sunday, and then you wait for Monday's trading to commence and see where price and market direction is heading. And then from there, you determine what the most likely area it's going to end up in at the end of the week. And then you base your trades off of that. It's a pretty simple game. You don't have to overcomplicate it. So what are we talking about here again? Well, if price gets higher than here, we'd have a target above there if we're going to go long. If price fails to get above these highs here, we'll have a price down under here if it decides to go short. Okay. Euro USD, very similar to the US dollar, where the US dollar obviously make a run for these highs here, just failed. And I'll pull this up here as well too on the 4 hour, so you can see we came just back up to this consolidation level here. So I'm very interested to see if we make it out above here, and if we do get above these highs, like I say, I'm waiting to see if we just wick above, run the liquidity, and then drop. If that happens, then obviously we can go assume that the rest of this week is going to be bearish on the US dollar, which means the rest of the week on Euro USD would be bullish, and the same goes for GBP USD, the same goes for Aussie USD, and all of those cross pairs. US CAD obviously would be the exact opposite. We'd be dropping on US CAD, and US Yen would obviously be dropping as well too, or they should be anyway. Okay, so Euro USD, like I say, had a very similar week as last week, and we just see the opening candle here now. It's at the time of this recording, it's Sunday afternoon, my time, my local time. So we just saw the Sunday candle open up here. Again, I want to see what happens when we open up. Do we do this, come up into here, and then fail to go any higher, and then we go like this? Or do we come down here, sweep those lows, reject, come back up into this range in here? Or do we not even bother coming up? Do we close lower than here and then price just falls off? Again, we'll just have to wait and see how the start of the week pulls out. But if I'll just draw your attention to a couple things, one being right here. You see this high here? This high was just ran out last Thursday. So price opened up on Monday, and I'm going back into last week. We had a couple equal highs over here. Price opened up, was hovering below these equal highs all week long, and then finally Thursday we saw price pop up, and then drop, and then it tried it again to come back up and failed on Friday. So that's your failure swing that you're looking for, and price sold right off. Personally, in my opinion, I think it's probably unlikely that we're going to come all the way back up into here. If we do, like I say, we'll be trading through this area in here if we do go back higher. So you can watch for that. Anything above the 110.60 levels, I think will probably be bullish for the week. If price remains under there, and again, if we come up into this range in here, back into this consolidation level, you see where all these lows are forming, and then do this, I think that's probably more probable of an outcome. But again, keep in mind, we got US Thanksgiving, we got a very low impact volatility week in terms of news. We could just see markets just kind of chatter sideways as well. So, but that's what I just sort of noticed here, or didn't just notice, just wanted to bring to your attention here quickly. We did run the highs from a couple of weeks back, so that to me is a bearish indicator, and obviously we saw the resulting action very, very quickly fall. I believe it was about 80 pips. Yeah, so 75 pips or so to the downside, and that was primarily all on Friday that we saw that move. There is more lows, I think, that could certainly be ran out. We just had them take this low rate here. Now, again, on the downside, if we fail, so on the upside, if we fail to get above here, it's going to be bearish. On the downside, though, if we fail to get underneath these this consolidation level in here, this is what I'm really interested in seeing. I think we'll probably see something like this happen. We'll definitely run this low and these lows here, I believe, this week. But how much lower do we want to get? Because we see price already ran the low under here, so, and we ran the low here. So right now we're just sort of bouncing in between two ranges. Ultimately, there's a lot of areas up here where I believe we could trade to, but similarly, we have equal lows down here. So really, I can't see, I mean, we could certainly, again, make a run for either. Its price is looking pretty heavy right now. Do we continue to the downside? We're going to know fairly quickly. If we get through here, we're going to be trading we're going to be trading bearishly on the week. If we get above this area here, we'll be trading bullishly on the week, and we can possibly target up into here. Like I say, again, our members with F45 Trading will be getting live up-to-date information on exactly what the market is doing starting Tuesday morning. So typically I let Monday develop in the trade to see what the start of the week looks like, and then Tuesday I get back into the markets and offer a live analysis, and I explain exactly, I think, where I think we're going to be going. So right now, unfortunately, it's not very clear cut. Do we go lower? Do we go higher? We could obviously make a case for both ends of it onto the euro and the US dollar. But like I say, you'll just kind of have to play it by ear and wait and see. Ideally, don't trade at all this week because it is US Thanksgiving, typically a very quiet week to begin with. You see a lot of consolidation right before big holiday events like that, and so it's probably not going to be a very active week anyway. Cable, or GBP USD, we have price, again, stagnating. We're still caught in this big consolidation range here from the middle of October, as you can see right there. Okay, so there's really not a whole lot. Obviously, it's sell the highs and you buy the lows, and that's consolidation trading. We had price now. I can tell you exactly where we're going to go on cable. Again, we had a nice run of the highs in here early in the week, last week, running out the stops, and we saw price sink and sink fairly quickly. Monday was a down day, and this is in spite of what Euro USD was doing on the week, because really, you know, it kind of sat sideways for about 3 days, and then the last day of the week it finally fell off. Whereas cable started trading lower almost immediately. We had the same run higher here on Thursday of last week. Same results, obviously, but Monday, you can see Monday ran up, took that high, and then Tuesday traded lower, Wednesday traded lower. Thursday was kind of a inside trading range day, so to speak. and then Friday we saw sell off. But I can tell you right now, we're going to go right down into here. You see these 1, 2, 3 equal lows right under there. We will be trading down into there this week, and that comes in at about 128.05, 12800, I guess. So that's about 50 pips lower than where we are. But do we, before we do that, trade up into here and then go lower into 128.05, or do we come down to 128.05 and then reject and go higher? I don't know. I do like, though, however, like I say, we took out the lows here, right there, and we took out the highs right there. So I think we're probably just going to see more of sideways price action, I believe. If we go lower than here, then we can worry about targets down here. And if we go higher, then obviously we can target up to 130, big figure, 130.20 on the high side. But I'm expecting price to sort of stagnate again on pound USD, GBP USD. But I do think we're going to come down to the 128.05 level, and we should see a notable reaction from there. Do we cascade all the way back up and try to trade it up into here? I don't know. But I do think we will see a reaction at this level, and if we don't, then we'll see them try to run for this low rate here. So it's basically just a sort of wait and see policy again with pound dollar, with the exception that we do know that it is going to close in this range here. Euro GBP, and the reason why I believe that comes down to Euro GBP. We had a little bit of a gap to start a couple of weeks ago on the daily, and we just barely filled that gap last week on Friday again. So I think we're going to probably see this push up one more time up into here, and if that does push higher, then that will obviously send the pound dollar lower. So that's mainly why I'm looking at that, among other things. But certainly there is cause for Euro GBP to go lower, which could pull the pound dollar higher. We have some major equal lows under here that I'm looking at. We've had a big run down, consolidation. Price came up once. Do we get up here one more time? I hope so, because I think we're probably going to see a big sell-off on Euro GBP, and that would obviously lead to bullish conditions on the pound dollar. Okay, US CAD real quickly here. We've got, again, more sideways price action. This price has really been sort of chopping back and forth for the past month, with the slight 3-day run up into here that was started sort of mid-November. And now I don't really particularly like what I'm seeing on the US CAD here, and I've mentioned that several times in the past, and mainly we go out to the daily and we see why, really coming up into areas that, and still just stuck in this area consolidation. So again, what do we do going forward? We do have equal highs up in here. Are they going to run those highs? It's certainly possible. We could come up and see price pop above here. Does it continue and try to get all the way above here? I think it's unlikely. Do we roll over and try to scoop some of these lows back up in here? Again, very, very likely. But right now, it's until it breaks out of this range, there's really nothing that I can discuss with on US CAD, other than if you look at this and it returned back lower here from last week. You can see price stabbed down, just failed to get back down to these old highs here, and we moved off. Now we have the Sunday candle just opened here, and it's looking pretty bullish. So I think there is a very strong chance that we could see the US CAD run these highs, but it's not too far away. We're only talking about maybe 30-40 pips to the upside. Certainly possible. Does it continue higher? I doubt it. I believe we'll probably just come right back into the range. If we do run these highs, we'll probably just continue just to chop sideways from there on out. This, like, I don't believe, we're not at the time of the year where US CAD is going to start making 1,000 pips to the upside. Okay, so don't get your hopes up on that. Australian dollar. I do like Australian dollar because we do see some hesitation in here. We saw some very, very bullish activity for the past about 6 to 8 weeks on Australian dollar. Very nice fluid price, very easy to predict. We came down and made these lows in the summer of 2019 and just briefly ran those lows at the end of September, and price rallied off of that very, very aggressively, very quickly. I like to see that. I'm looking for further higher prices on Australian dollar, but I do believe there is a chance we could probably return back down to this 67.45 level. It's not too far away from current location. We're only about 40 pips away, but I would expect a fairly noticeable reaction to happen at that level, and then price to start running higher from there. If, however, we start breaking these lows and this low on the daily, then there's a good chance that we could be running much, much lower and possibly really sweeping these lows under here on Australian dollar. I'll go out to the monthly and you can kind of see what that looks like. But prices are really holding up very, very nicely at this level, and I'd like to see that continue and possibly see a surge higher. Okay, so that's about it for foreign currency. We'll talk about gold just really quickly, because again, gold, we do have several targets to the upside on gold that I'm very, very interested in. And what did I say to you last week? Again, just referring back to last week's free weekly review, I said if price fails to get up into this area here, we're going to probably go lower, and that's exactly what happened. We had price, this candle right here last Wednesday, just retouched the low on that candle there, and we saw price sell off. So chances are we're going to see a continuation further. You know, how much lower does it get? You know, I want to see what happens when we get to 145. 1460. So we're about 1459. 1460, I want to see what happens. So we're very close to it right now. Do we see a reaction, or do we indeed continue to push lower than that and possibly sweep this low here? But I just wanted to talk about gold just because we did have a nice notable reaction at that level from last week, and I said if we fail to get above that, we're going to trade lower, and that's exactly what it did. I feel like this looks fairly bearish, but again, you know, you look and it's kind of like a descending triangle. You can kind of see that right there, off of this big bullish move up into here. So we're just going to have to see prices compressing, and it's eventually going to act like a spring, and it's going to release. Do we release up to the downside, or do we spill over? We'll probably have a pretty good idea here going forward. Again, if we do see consolidation in the US dollar, though, it's a very likely chance that gold will continue to consolidate as well too. Okay, so that's about it for the weekly review. I appreciate your time watching it, guys. If you like this, please share it out, give me a thumbs up, encourage other people to check it out as well too if you think they can get some value out of it, or check us out at f45trading.com, where there's several options several options for your all your trading needs. Any help that you require, coaching, signals, live market analysis, and everything else, even just a chat room just to bounce ideas off, we've got it all. So please go ahead and check that out at f45trading.com. I think you'll be very happy with it, and I will be back again to do another free market review next Sunday. So take it easy this week, you guys. If you're just watching this on my YouTube channel, it's going to be probably a pretty slow week going into US Thanksgiving, and considerably slow for the rest of December, more than likely. Like I say, with the odd day that may bounce here or there, of course. And to all of my members, we will talk to you in the chat room tomorrow, and get ready for a live Tuesday London Open market review. Okay? Thanks very much for watching, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.